Today, we get to look at the life of Jesus and the gospel story of Mark. And the reason why we get to look at the life of Jesus is because we want to get things right. We want to get our beliefs right and who Jesus is, but also we want to get our actions right, the way that we live right. And there's a way that Jesus lives his life that I think is going to help us in getting our lives right today. In Mark's chapter 9, we're talking about the transfiguration. This is the moment where Jesus takes 3 of the disciples up a mountain and reveals his true self to them. But there's a few details that are part of this story that I think will help us get things right in our life. In Mark 9, here's the verse I want to point out. It says, "Then Elijah and Moses appeared and began talking with Jesus." This sounds like a totally normal conversation, a normal thing to happen, except if you're paying attention, you'll know that Moses and Elijah have both been gone for hundreds and hundreds of years. And both Moses and Elijah are really important figures in Jewish history. Moses particularly, let's talk about him. Moses actually is the one that wrote all of Deuteronomy. He wrote all the books of the Bible. He wrote the law. As a matter of fact, the disciples, even of Jesus, would consider themselves disciples of Moses. All of the Jewish people would be following the way that Moses wrote down how to live. This is all the religious understandings of how they lived out their faith. All of us have this, by the way. And you know what's really interesting? In Luke's gospel, the same story is told. And this is what it says. They were glorious to see. And this is Moses and Elijah with Jesus again. And Luke says they were glorious to see, and they were speaking about his exodus from the world, which was about to be fulfilled in Jerusalem. If you're paying attention at all, you'll know that Moses is the guy who leads the Exodus. That's the second book of the Bible, is the Exodus. That's when God wants to set his people free. And what Moses and Jesus are talking about 1,000 years later is another Exodus. They use the word there on purpose because God's plan is to set everyone free. They thought the Exodus had already happened. I remember how this happened to me one time. I was on a first-class flight. I got bumped up for the first time in my life. And I remember sitting in first class, and I got delivered this meal. And I was like, oh, no, it's rich people food, because it was like little tiny pieces of salmon and like on a lettuce bed. And I was so hungry, just coming back from this mission trip. And so I just ate absolutely everything, whether I liked it or not, because I was hungry. And I ate the lettuce, that it was on. And I ate the whole box of buns that they gave me to try to fill up my hunger. And then the flight attendant came over and said, "Oh, are you finished?" And I was like, well, there's literally nothing left. Of course, I'm finished. And she said, "So you're ready for the main course?" It was an appetizer. And in so many ways, this Moses, these people that the disciples were following, this leader, and thought they were following Moses, it turns out that the Exodus, the original Exodus, and Moses himself were just an appetizer, a foretaste, just the first course. And the main course is still coming. And the main course is Jesus and his intention to set everybody free. Sometimes we have to leave the appetizer and get to the main course. And the main course will always be Jesus. I hope you're experiencing him in your life today.